Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel for an abstract watercolor video. I'm just playing with my watercolors and I'm going to make some mini paintings, 4 mini paintings. I just picked a big paper pad, which is a watercolor paper, and it's a paper pad that is glued on all 4 sides. I really like that because then the paper has no chance to buckle or bend. And I separated that piece of paper into 4 quarters with a tape, so I can make 4 playful mini paintings. A few days ago, I unboxed a drawer together with my lovely members of my YouTube membership, and we went through a big stack of finished paintings. And that was the drawer where I put the paintings in that I really loved. And we unboxed that. And I had a lot of these dreamy, abstract, intuitive watercolor paintings there. And remembered how much I enjoyed making them. And I don't know why, but during the past, I would say the past year, I haven't worked much with watercolor, a little bit in an abstract way, but not a lot. Sometimes I use watercolors in my sketchbook, but in a completely different way. And the only thing I remembered always is that I don't like painting in the traditional watercolor way, but I totally forgot how much I enjoyed that playful, more childish way of painting, not thinking about the rules, not thinking about what I'm doing, just playing. And that inspired me so much, that unboxing of that drawer, that I think 2 hours later I was at my desk set up with watercolor paper pads, so I can switch things out. Once one layer has to dry, I can switch to another paper pad, and I did some watercolor paintings. I've posted some of them already over on my Instagram, and I also uploaded already some of the paintings into our shop, so they are available there. Today I'm just playing intuitively. I think I'm going to speed up the video a bit because it's very long and YouTube doesn't like long videos. So I'm going to increase the speed. I would say maybe to 1.5. So it's not too quick, but I want you to know how the real speed is of that painting process, because I think it can be very it can feel completely different if you watch an artist painting and he speeds up his or she speeds up the video, and you don't know that, and then you can't learn from it. I think not in the same way as if you would see it in the original speed or way. So I decided to keep the first paint strokes in the original speed, so you know how quickly I'm really working, and that the rest is going to be a little bit quicker than I usually do it. I do not work very quickly, I would say. Well, for some people I maybe do, but I think that's not. I just really enjoy the process, and that's all. The most important thing for me is that I want to have fun when I'm painting, and maybe that's the reason why I don't like the traditional way of watercolor painting, because it's very technically and it's very you have to concentrate a lot on what you are doing, because watercolors, if you place something in the wrong area, it can be a problem, and that's something I don't want to deal with and I don't enjoy. And that's why I always work in a more playful way. Also, my sketchbook work is just paint, markers, color pencils, and I do not pre-draw, I do not use an eraser. I just want to enjoy like I did that when I was a child. But when you grow up, then I think you 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 have art in school, and people tell you how to do things, and so you unlearn how to enjoy painting, I think. And I really like to focus on that all the time when I make any kind of art. The watercolors I'm using are the Paul Rubens MeiLiang Watercolors mainly, and I also have my Gansai Tambi set here because it's quite an old set and the paints are really cracking already and drying out very much. And I decided to, whenever I can, I use them so I can use them up. I will link up the products I'm using in the video description. I'm also putting a link to my website, to the blog, in the video description. There I'm going to post the photos of the finished painting. And here you can see that I increased the speed a little bit. So just that you know that I'm not painting that quickly. I am really enjoying those watercolors. They make a nice granulation in some areas. You can see that at the top left quarter where we have that little bit of pink and the blue, and that's really lovely, the texture I got there. And I think that's the watercolors are really good. So if you are a beginner, you don't have any watercolors, I could recommend these MeiLiang watercolors. There are two sets, I think. This one is the one with the metallics in addition, and they also have a set where you have some more opaque watercolors. I have both. I like both. I just grabbed this one. I think because I thought maybe I will add some gold towards the end, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's why I picked this watercolor palette. The brushes are also from Paul Rubens. I think there is a full review video on these paints already on my channel. I will hopefully not forget, maybe link that up anywhere in the info box, for example. And I think you can see that I have also switched the paper pad around. So I don't have an up and down side at the moment. I'm just playing, and I really like working from different directions because you get surprises then. Why should I say that this is the down and the other is the upside of the paper? And when I turn it around, things change, and I paint over that, add another layer, and everything looks completely different. And that's what I really like, because sometimes I'm really surprised about how different things can look when you turn them around. I usually let my paintings dry after a while, because if you add too many layers over each other or next to each other when the colors are wet, you get just a muddy color. What I like is having some neutrals in between, so the colors I have glow a bit more. They are a bit more vibrant when you have some neutrals, white space in between. And I also try to have a good value range, so that means that I have everything from light to dark on my paper. I let that painting dry, and here I'm back, and I'm adding another layer now. I really like the transparent layers of watercolor when you lay one over the other and it's shining through. Sometimes I mess things up, of course. I make a mess, I don't like the colors, but that's also part of the playing, and you don't learn and experiment and get to know new techniques when you don't make mistakes. So don't be afraid of making an ugly painting, just do it. You learn more from an ugly painting than you learn from a good painting. I'm switching brushes in between. I work sometimes with a really big mop brush, then with a smaller one to create more details. You can experiment with all your different kinds of brushes you have, make different marks and play with it. And I've already recorded my video for my lovely members that will go live on Saturday, and we are going to make some paintings. I think there are going to be 2 big abstract watercolor paintings that are painted in this style. This is also a good way to experiment with different color palettes. I did this in my last, I think it was the last members video. We have a video every other Saturday, and sometimes I put some videos in between, like that drawer unboxing, sometimes a art supply haul, and sometimes just an idea I have in between and I want to share. And I did a video last time figuring out a color palette for a ceramic vase I'm making, and this is also a nice way to explore new color palettes. You can just limit yourself to a bunch of colors and then explore which combination works best, which combination you like the most. I didn't do that this time. I just wanted to play. I didn't think about color. I just go with my intuition and just what I think could fit on the page. I even don't have swatch cards of my watercolor palette. I also really enjoy creating patterns on my abstract paintings, and what I learned in the past, the more I paint, the more ideas I get, and the more comes out of that brush. I experiment more, and I sometimes I am surprised about the pattern I never had thought of making, and that comes, I would say, with the amount of painting. I always pick a painting from myself that I really like or that I find inspiring and put it up in the studio so I can just get inspired by it and maybe recreate the patterns I have on there. That was the same with this pattern. And then it looks like I could not stop making that. I just really liked how this was turning out. Not all of these paintings are my favorite. I think I have 2 that I really like. The pink one is not my favorite. And yeah, I have 2 paintings of those that I love to not so much, but I think I will share another video. Not sure if I will share it publicly or with my members, but I have I did that video already in the past. It's years ago. How to reuse a watercolor painting you don't like. I turned the paper pad around again because the other half was already dry and I now can work easily over the top. When I make bigger paintings, I always have more paper pads next to me, so I always do multiple paintings because I don't want to stop in between. I think if you're making art regularly and you enjoy your process, you know that state you're getting in. Once you are in the painting flow, it's like doing something you really, really enjoy, like eating a delicious food, and you don't want to stop. And that's the same for me with painting. If I'm in the flow, I do not really like to pause and come back later. I sometimes do that when I don't have much time, when I just want to be to put something creative, squeeze in a little bit of creative time in a busy day, then I definitely do this. But when I have really much time and I can't play and experiment, I don't like to pause things. And then it's really good to have a bunch of paper pads laying around, or you can use loose watercolor sheets and tape them to different boards. You even can work on loose sheets without taping them down. I just prefer it because I'm making that video. Then it's a bit better if it's not buckling, and then I'm taking photos of the work, and it's much easier when the work is completely flat instead of bended a little bit, so you can take photos more easily. I wanted to use some metallics now, and I'm using those. I wanted to or use that light purplish color there, lavender color maybe, on the left painting. Now it's on the right. I think I turned it around because I wanted to let that sit a little bit to activate, because metallic paints always take some time to get activated. And I don't know. Now I'm going in for the gold. I realized that I did not really like that gold tone for my left painting here. And I'm mixing it up with the metallic yellow to get just a lighter hue of gold. And I'm working on that left painting with the purple and yellow color, and I really love this. I think the colors are amazing, and this is going to be my favorite painting of that session. And here I'm also painting in some botanical images. We also did an exercise in summer in the mixed media play tier membership, where I went out with just some pastels and big sheets of paper, and I just drew botanicals all around the garden, quick sketches. And these are great references now when I'm searching for a focal point for such a painting. Then I always, or not always, but sometimes I come back. Today I just do something from my mind, but then I sometimes come back to these drawings and use them as reference. So I not always draw the same images. And here I'm using that lavender metallic color over this painting, and that's the least favorite of my paintings today, because that focal point doesn't come out very well. Maybe I could have worked back into it later once it was dry and just highlight the botanical a little bit more. And I think I also dipped into the green accidentally in between, so it's just not my favorite. But that does not matter. You can't always make paintings you love. There are always paintings you don't like that much and you like one more than the other. And as I said in the beginning, that's part of the process, and it's also an important part, I would say. Especially when I think about my sketchbook. I do a lot of drawing. I draw every day. And there is, I have a separate Instagram account for my sketchbook pages. Hopefully I will not forget to link it underneath. But there it often happens that I make a bad drawing. Sometimes I come back the day later and then I love the drawing, and sometimes not. But I always learn something, things that work, things that don't work, and I also always discover things I like within a bad painting, a technique, color combo, whatever. And that's always helpful, so I never mind if I do a bad piece of art. I always do my final touches with other mediums. Here I'm using Posca Pens. These are my most favorite thing to work over watercolors, and for this one I picked the gold. I also sometimes use colored pencils over the top, or just some neocolors or oil pastels. But with oil pastels, I'm not the biggest fan of working on a painting because they never dry and you have to keep them protected so you don't ruin them. I use oil pastels regularly in my sketchbook, but there I also always put a piece of transparent paper in between the pages so it does not ruin my pages. I think that part of doodling is very calming. Really love that. I enjoy that a lot. Maybe if you have made a painting that you really like and you want to add some drawing over the top, but you don't feel safe about that, then I would recommend just pre-draw it with a pencil and then go over it with the marker. So you feel more safe, and that can also be part of the process. I'm someone who usually I almost never pre-draw my images. Sometimes I do, but I don't do it very often. And for me, that's usually part of the process, but it's totally fine to pre-draw things, especially when you already like what you have made and you don't want to ruin it. I also put some of these paintings up in our shop. I have so many that I almost have no space to store them, and I can't hang them up all in my studio. I have bought some frames where you can exchange they are usually made for kids drawings, where you can exchange the painting quite quickly and store the other paintings in the back of the frame. And I really like that idea, but I now have only one frame left where I can exchange things, because there is a painting of myself, of for me, in that frame. And the other frame I have, my son gifted me a painting. And of course, that's the star of that frame, and I would never change it. Maybe if he draws me another one. So, but he usually doesn't paint or draw. So that's something very special. So you can find those paintings, not all of them, but a few of them, in our shop. And by the way, we have a Valentine's sale going on at the moment, and you get 14% of your whole order, stamps, stencils, with the code LOVE2026, but I will put that code in the description. And now it's time to reveal that tape. I think that's always a special moment, because usually the paintings turn out much more beautiful without that tape, because they get a clean frame. I'm using my heat tool to heat up the tape a little bit so the glue comes off super easy and it doesn't ruin my paper. That's always a good idea if you have something. Also, if you have a book with these stickers, you can easily remove them with some heat. Yeah, and I will leave you with the finished paintings so you can see how they turned out. That's my absolute favorite. I really like that. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you are a little bit inspired and maybe take out your watercolors. I hope we will see us next time. Bye.